Are you living alone? Or do you feel lonely even while being in a relationship? Have you ever wondered if it's really worth it to keep compromising, sacrificing, and carrying the weight of responsibility just to have someone by your side as you grow older? What if, instead of searching for someone to share your life with, what you really need is the freedom to live life on your own terms? Society often tells us that having a partner in old age is essential to avoid loneliness. But what if loneliness isn't about being alone? It's about being with someone who no longer brings you joy. In today's video, we're going to explore the surprising benefits of being single as you age. And trust me, insight number 2 and number 6 might just make you rethink everything. You may start seeing your golden years in a whole new way. Here, you don't need to like or subscribe. But if you believe this content has value, share your story or simply type number 9. Because sometimes, one small action can help someone find exactly what they need. And that brings us to insight number 1. Complete freedom and independence. When you're single in old age, your life is completely yours to design. No compromises, no adjusting to someone else's schedule, and no worrying about how your decisions will affect another person. You wake up when you want, eat what you love, and spend your day exactly the way you choose. Take the story of Evelyn, an 82-year-old woman who spent decades putting her husband's needs before her own. From what time they ate dinner to how they spent their weekends, her routine was always shaped by someone else's preferences. But when her husband passed away 5 years ago, something unexpected happened. She discovered the beauty of living life on her own terms. Now, Evelyn wakes up at 6:30 a.m., makes herself a cup of herbal tea, and enjoys the quiet morning on her balcony. She spends her afternoons walking in the park, reading books she loves, and doing activities that bring her joy, without worrying about whether someone else approves. Even simple things like deciding what to watch on TV or whether to travel feel liberating. Being single in old age means no more negotiating every decision. Want to take a last-minute trip? You book the ticket. Want to try a new hobby? No one is there to tell you it's a waste of time. Want to enjoy a peaceful evening without interruptions? It's completely up to you. And it's not just about flexibility. It's about peace of mind. When you're not constantly adjusting to someone else's needs, you experience a deeper sense of calm. No more conflicts over small things. No more compromises that don't serve you. Just a life that feels truly your own. Some people think being single means being lonely. But the truth is, the worst loneliness isn't being alone. It's being with someone who no longer brings you happiness. For Evelyn, embracing her independence has been the most fulfilling chapter of her life. Because sometimes, the best company you can have is yourself. Number 2, financial independence. When you're single in old age, your money is yours to manage. No compromises, no disagreements, no explanations. Every financial decision is based on what's best for you, not what works for someone else. And that kind of freedom is priceless. Take the story of Diane, a 74-year-old woman who spent most of her life in a marriage where money was always a struggle. Her husband, Richard, handled the finances, but their priorities never aligned. Diane wanted to save for security, but Richard preferred to spend on things she didn't see the value in. Every major financial decision required negotiation, and most of the time, she had to settle for less than what she wanted. When Richard passed away, Diane found herself in unfamiliar territory. For the first time in decades, she had full control over her money. At first, she was unsure. She had never made big financial choices on her own. But as time passed, something changed. She realized how freeing it was to manage her money exactly the way she wanted. She restructured her budget to focus on what truly mattered. She canceled unnecessary expenses, prioritized her savings, and even signed up for a financial planning course. And for the first time, she didn't feel guilty about spending on things that brought her happiness. She booked a solo trip to Italy, something she had dreamed about for years, but never pursued because Richard wasn't interested. Being financially independent in old age isn't just about money. It's about having control over your future. You decide where your money goes, without compromise. You invest in your well-being, your passions, and your future security. You no longer have to justify your financial choices to anyone. Many older adults experience financial anxiety worrying about whether their savings will last, whether they're making smart decisions, or if they'll have enough for unexpected expenses. But when you're single, you create a financial plan that works for you. No one else's priorities dictate your budget, and that gives you confidence and peace of mind. For Diane, financial independence wasn't just about managing money. It was about reclaiming her freedom. She no longer felt trapped in financial decisions that didn't serve her. She felt empowered, in control, and free to live on her own terms. And that's the beauty of being single in old age. You don't just manage your own money. You take full ownership of your life. Number 3, emotional freedom when you're single in old age. You are free from emotional burdens that drain your energy. No more managing someone else's moods. No more walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. And no more sacrificing your peace to maintain a relationship that no longer brings you joy. You finally get to focus on your own emotional well-being, without guilt, without pressure, and without unnecessary stress. Take the story of Margaret, a 79-year-old woman, who spent most of her adult life in a marriage that, from the outside, seemed fine. But behind closed doors, it was exhausting. Her husband, Robert, was emotionally distant, rarely expressed appreciation, and often dismissed her feelings. Margaret spent years trying to keep the peace, trying to be understanding, trying to make things work. But no matter how much effort she put in, the relationship always felt one-sided. She worried about his moods, adjusted her own behavior to avoid arguments, and slowly lost sight of what made her happy. For decades, she convinced herself that this was just how marriage worked, that love meant sacrifice. Then, Robert passed away, and for the first time in years, Margaret felt something she never expected: relief. She felt lighter, as if a weight she had been carrying for decades had finally been lifted. There were no more tense conversations, no more emotional battles, no more feeling like she had to prove her worth to someone who never truly saw her. At first, she didn't know what to do with this newfound emotional space, but as time went on, she realized something powerful. She was finally free to feel her own emotions without anyone else's influence. Emotional freedom in old age means you no longer have to manage someone else's happiness. You get to process your own emotions without guilt or pressure. You experience a deep sense of peace, without the stress of relationship conflicts. For Margaret, this wasn't about being alone. It was about reclaiming herself. She rediscovered passions she had neglected, reconnected with friends, and started making decisions based entirely on what made her happy. She no longer had to check in with someone else before making plans. She no longer had to explain herself. She no longer had to hold back her feelings, just to keep the peace. And the most beautiful part? She realized she was happier now than she had ever been. Many people fear that being single in old age means loneliness. But the truth is, the deepest loneliness isn't about being alone. It's about being in a relationship where you no longer feel seen, valued, or understood. For Margaret, emotional freedom meant more than just solitude. It meant finally experiencing the peace and self-acceptance she had been searching for her entire life. And that's the true power of being single in old age. You are free to feel, to heal, and to embrace a life that is fully your own. Number 4, better health and wellness when you're single in old age. Your health is finally yours to prioritize. No more putting someone else's needs before your own. No more feeling drained from relationship stress. You have the freedom to take care of yourself fully, intentionally, and without compromise. Take the story of James, a 71-year-old man who spent most of his life looking after his wife. She had chronic health issues, and for years, James was her primary caregiver. He skipped workouts, ate whatever was convenient, and rarely took time for himself. His life revolved around hospital visits, medication schedules, and sleepless nights worrying about her well-being. Then, when she passed away, James felt lost. For so long, his health had been an afterthought. He had spent years making sure she was okay. But now, it was time to focus on himself. At first, he didn't know where to start. He had aches and pains he had ignored for years. His energy was low. His stress levels were high. But then, he made a decision. He was going to take control of his health. He started small. A 20-minute morning walk, a switch to healthier meals, and a commitment to drinking more water. The changes were simple, but the results? Life-changing. He had more energy. He slept better. His mind felt clearer. Encouraged by his progress, he took it further. He joined a local swimming class, started doing light strength training, and even picked up yoga. For the first time in years, he wasn't just surviving, he was thriving. When you're single, your health is in your hands, and that's a powerful thing. You choose what's best for your body. No need to adjust for someone else's habits. You create a lifestyle that keeps you strong, mobile, and independent. You invest in your mental well-being, free from relationship stress and emotional exhaustion. And it's not just about physical health. Your mind benefits, too. Studies show that regular exercise improves memory, reduces anxiety, and even slows cognitive decline. When you take care of yourself, you feel sharper, more focused, and more alive. For James, this transformation wasn't just about fitness. It was about reclaiming the years he had lost. He no longer felt worn out or overwhelmed. He felt strong, confident, and in control of his body and mind. Many people think aging means slowing down. But when you take care of yourself, it's not about aging. It's about living. And that's what James discovered. Being single in old age gave him the freedom to put himself first. And that choice, it changed everything. Number 5. More time for personal interests. One of the greatest joys of being single in old age is having the time to do what truly makes you happy. No more adjusting your schedule to fit someone else's needs. No more setting aside your passions because there's no time. Every hour of your day belongs to you, and that freedom can be life-changing. Take the story of Helen, a 76-year-old woman who spent most of her life taking care of others. She raised 3 children, supported her husband's career, and always put her family first. She loved art, painting, drawing, anything creative, but there was never enough time to truly pursue it. There was always a meal to cook, a house to clean, or an errand to run. Then, after her husband passed away and her children moved out, Helen found herself with something she had never had before: time. At first, she wasn't sure how to fill her days. The silence felt unfamiliar. The lack of responsibilities made her uneasy. But then, she remembered something: her love for painting. So, she picked up a brush for the first time in decades. What started as a small hobby quickly became a passion. She enrolled in an art class, started painting every day, and even began showcasing her work at local galleries. For the first time in her life, she was creating for herself, not for anyone else. When you're single, your time is your own, and that opens up a world of possibilities. You can rediscover old passions or explore new ones. Whether it's writing, music, gardening, or learning a new skill, there's nothing stopping you. You can spend more time with people who truly bring you joy. No obligations, no forced interactions, just meaningful connections. You can invest in personal growth, whether it's taking classes, traveling, or simply spending more time doing what you love. The choice is yours. And here's the best part. Having time for yourself doesn't just make life more enjoyable. It makes you feel more alive. Helen's days no longer felt empty. They felt full of creativity, inspiration, and a renewed sense of purpose. Many people fear that being single and old age means having too much time alone. But the truth is that time is a gift. It's a chance to finally do the things you never had time for, to live life at your own pace, and to fill your days with what truly matters to you. For Helen, embracing her passions wasn't just about filling time. It was about rediscovering herself. And that's the beauty of being single in old age. You finally have the freedom to focus on what brings you the most joy. Number 6, peace and quiet. One of the most underrated benefits of being single in old age is the peace and quiet that comes with it. No more conflicts, no more unnecessary noise, no more adjusting your mood to match someone else's energy. Just a home that truly feels like a sanctuary. Take the story of Alice, a 72-year-old woman who spent most of her life in a busy, chaotic household. Her husband, Paul, was a social, outgoing man who loved having people over. Their home was always filled with noise, conversations, TV blaring, phone calls, guests coming and going. Alice, on the other hand, was someone who cherished quiet moments, but those moments were rare. For years, she told herself it was fine. She got used to the constant movement, the interruptions, the lack of stillness. But deep down, she longed for space, for solitude, for a place where she could truly unwind. Then Paul passed away, and for the first time in decades, her home was silent. At first, it felt strange. The absence of noise was almost unsettling. But as time went on, she started to embrace it. She filled her home with soft music, lit candles in the evening, and spent long afternoons reading without a single distraction. She realized something powerful. Silence wasn't emptiness. It was peace. When you're single, your home becomes a place of true comfort. You control the atmosphere. No more noise, no more disruptions. You decide how to spend your time, whether it's in quiet reflection or doing what makes you happy. You no longer have to accommodate someone else's habits, routines, or moods. And it's not just about having a quiet space. It's about how that peace transforms your mental and emotional well-being. Studies show that a calm environment reduces stress, improves focus, and even enhances overall happiness. For Alice, the stillness of her home became something she cherished. She no longer felt drained from constant social interactions. She no longer felt overstimulated by someone else's energy. Instead, she felt centered, present, and at peace. Many people assume that being alone means feeling lonely. But the truth is, real loneliness comes from feeling disconnected, even when you're surrounded by people. For Alice, embracing the quiet wasn't about isolation. It was about finally experiencing the kind of peace she had been craving her entire life. And that's the beauty of being single in old age. Your home, your energy, and your life belong entirely to you. Number 7. Relationships without pressure. One of the greatest freedoms of being single in old age is having relationships on your own terms. No pressure to meet romantic expectations, no obligations to maintain a partnership that no longer fulfills you, and no stress over trying to make it work. You get to choose the people in your life based purely on connection, companionship, and joy. Take the story of George, an 81-year-old man who had been widowed for several years. When his wife passed away, people often asked him if he planned to date again. Some even assumed he must be lonely. But George wasn't interested in finding another romantic partner. What he wanted wasn't another marriage. It was meaningful friendships. So instead of looking for a new relationship, he built a circle of friends who truly enriched his life. He joined a local gardening club, started attending community dinners, and even reconnected with old friends from his past. His days were filled with laughter, good conversations, and shared experiences. Not because he felt obligated, but because he genuinely enjoyed the company. And that's the beauty of relationships without pressure. You're free to build connections based on mutual interests, not romantic expectations. You can enjoy companionship without the emotional weight of a romantic relationship. You get to surround yourself with people who truly bring value to your life. Many older adults feel pressure to find a new partner after losing a spouse or leaving a long-term relationship. But the truth is, you don't need a romantic relationship to feel deeply connected. Friendship, shared experiences, and even casual companionship can bring just as much fulfillment, sometimes even more. For George, being single didn't mean being alone. It meant having the freedom to connect with people in a way that felt natural and fulfilling, without any expectations or stress. And that's what makes relationships without pressure so valuable. When you're single, you choose who stays in your life, and every connection is built on genuine happiness, not obligation. Looking back at these stories, one thing is clear. Being single in old age isn't about loneliness. It's about finally living life on your own terms. No more compromises, no more obligations, no more pressure to stay in a relationship that no longer brings you happiness. Instead, you have freedom, peace, and most importantly, the power to shape your life exactly how you want. Each person in these stories discovered something meaningful in their independence. Evelyn embraced the freedom to live each day her way. Diane realized that financial control meant taking control of her future. Helen rediscovered a passion she had neglected for years. And Alice learned that silence wasn't loneliness. It was the peace she had been craving all along. But if we had to choose two of the most important factors, they would be financial independence, number 2, and peace in your life, number 6. Without these, it's hard to truly enjoy the benefits of being single. Financial independence gives you complete control over your life. You don't have to depend on anyone, worry about someone else's spending habits, or feel stuck in a situation because of money. You can make decisions based on your own needs and priorities, whether it's saving for security or treating yourself to something you've always wanted. Peace in your life allows you to wake up every day without unnecessary stress, without relationship conflicts, and without feeling like you have to constantly adjust to someone else's needs. A quiet home, a space that is truly yours, and the ability to live without pressure. Sometimes, that is the greatest gift of all. When you have both financial freedom and inner peace, you're not just living alone, you're truly living. You have the time, the freedom, and the energy to do what makes you happy. Pursue your passions, and take care of yourself in ways that bring you real joy. Now, what about you? If you could choose the most important thing about living alone, what would it be? Where are you from? Share your thoughts below, or simply type number 9. There are homes where every conversation turns into an argument, where gossip spreads like wildfire, and where the past is brought up, not for understanding, but to wound you. These are places filled with tension, conflict, and sharp words, leaving you walking away with a heavy heart. Worse still, sometimes these homes belong to your own family members, the very people who should offer warmth and love, yet instead make you feel used, disrespected, or completely drained. As you grow older, you no longer have the energy to endure visits that bring you stress and emotional exhaustion. Peace is not a luxury. It is a right you deserve. Let's explore 7 types of homes you should never step into in your later years, so you can protect your dignity, mental well-being, and happiness. Number 1. The home where you never feel truly welcome. There is nothing more heartbreaking than walking into a place where you are not genuinely wanted. It could be a cold stare, a half-hearted greeting, or even an awkward, distant atmosphere. You realize that they invited you out of obligation, not because they truly wanted to see you. At this stage in life, you deserve to be surrounded by people who appreciate and cherish you, not sitting in a room where your presence is merely tolerated. If every visit leaves you feeling ignored, unimportant, or like a burden, it's time to stop going. Your time is precious. Spend it with those who are truly happy to have you around, rather than those who simply endure your presence. Number 2. The home filled with gossip, conflict, and arguments. There are homes where the moment you step inside, the air feels heavy. Arguments echo from the living room. Complaints never seem to end. In these places, people don't listen to each other. They just wait for their turn to speak. Every conversation turns into a dispute or backstabbing gossip. You leave with a troubled mind and an exhausted heart. You ask yourself, why did I come here? To hear harsh words? To witness endless conflicts? And the most painful truth, sometimes, these homes belong to your own family members, the very people who should bring you love and peace, but instead leave you feeling drained. Whether it's your children's home, a sibling's house, or a relative's place, if you always leave feeling worn out, it's time to limit your visits. You have weathered enough storms in life. You deserve peace. If a home only brings you stress and negativity, leave it behind. Peace is a choice, and you have the right to choose it. Number 3. The home where you are only needed, not valued. There are homes where you are only invited when they need something, to babysit, to run errands, to lend money. But when you need companionship, a listening ear, or just a simple visit, they are nowhere to be found. You give your time, your kindness, your love, but it's never truly appreciated. The moment you stop being useful, you become invisible. It hurts, doesn't it, to realize that the people you care for only see you as a convenience, not as someone they genuinely cherish. And what's worse, sometimes these people are your own family. You raised them, supported them, yet now they only call when they need help. You are not an obligation. Your worth is not measured by what you can do for others. If a home only welcomes you when you're needed, but never when you're wanted. It's time to walk away. You deserve love, not just utility. Number 4. The home where you feel like a burden. Have you ever visited someone's home and felt unwanted the moment you walked in? Maybe they sigh when they see you at the door, glance at their watch, or seem eager for you to leave. Their words may be polite, but their body language says it all. You are not truly welcome. At first, you try to ignore it. You tell yourself, maybe they're just busy. But deep down, you know the truth. Your presence feels like an inconvenience to them. And the most painful part? Sometimes, this happens in the homes of your own children or close family. The very people who should embrace you with warmth. You should never have to beg for someone's time or attention. You are not a burden. You deserve to be in places where you feel valued, not merely tolerated. If a home makes you feel like an afterthought, respect yourself enough to stop visiting. Your time is precious. Spend it where you are truly cherished. Number 5. The home where you are disrespected. Respect is a basic human need, not a privilege. Yet, there are homes where your words are ignored, your experiences are dismissed, and your presence is barely acknowledged. You speak, but they interrupt. You share a thought, but they belittle it. You offer wisdom, but they roll their eyes as if your knowledge no longer matters. And the most painful part? Sometimes, the ones who disrespect you are your own family, your children, grandchildren, or relatives who treat you as if your years of life mean nothing. They forget the sacrifices you've made, the lessons you've learned, and the wisdom you carry. You do not deserve to sit at a table where you feel invisible. You are not a relic of the past. You are a person with value, experience, and dignity. If a home makes you feel small, unimportant, or dismissed, walk away. Your self-respect is worth more than forced interactions. Number 6. The home that drains your mental and emotional well-being. Some homes feel heavy the moment you step inside. The air is thick with tension. The people are cold or indifferent, and the atmosphere leaves you feeling uneasy, anxious, or emotionally drained. You sit there, forcing a smile, but inside, you're counting the minutes until you can leave. And the hardest part? Sometimes, these homes belong to the very people you once loved and trusted. A sibling, a relative, even your own children. People who should bring comfort but instead leave. You feeling unwanted, stressed, or emotionally exhausted. Your mental and emotional health matter just as much as your physical health. If visiting a home leaves you feeling drained instead of uplifted, if every encounter brings more sadness than joy, it's time to stop going. Protect your peace. Choose your well-being, and surround yourself with places that make you feel valued, not broken. Number 7. The home that no longer aligns with your growth. As we grow older, we seek wisdom, peace, and meaningful connections. But some homes remain trapped in negativity, toxic habits, and shallow conversations. When you visit, you feel stuck in old patterns, surrounded by people who refuse to change, who dwell in complaints, past grudges, or destructive behaviors. You sit there, realizing you no longer belong in that space. The things that once connected you no longer matter, and instead of feeling uplifted, you leave feeling drained, uninspired, or even frustrated. And sometimes, these homes belong to lifelong friends or family members, people you once shared everything with. But now, they pull you backward instead of lifting you up. Growth means knowing when to walk away. If a home no longer nurtures your mind and soul, it is not a home for you anymore. Choose places that encourage your peace, your wisdom, and your happiness. You have outgrown the past. It's time to embrace your future. Of all the types of homes one should avoid, the one filled with conflict, gossip, and endless arguments resonates with me the most. I once had an older brother, but after falling into alcoholism, he was no longer the person I once knew. Every visit turned into a battlefield of shouting matches, bitter accusations, and drunken outbursts. The air was thick with the smell of alcohol, his voice slurred, his anger unpredictable. I remember walking out one night with a heavy heart, asking myself, why do I keep coming here? To witness his downfall, to be dragged into endless family conflicts. At some point, I realized that family ties do not mean you must endure endless emotional turmoil. I still love my brother, but I can't let his kid. The next part of this video is now available on my channel.